So, I didn't realize until I got to hang out with my dad yesterday afternoon that I completely forgot to look up Horsehead's game. And it turns out it didn't really go so well, as they lost the Vestal 23-0. Look, I'll be honest, I actually have a wedding to go to the first weekend in November. And that's pretty much coincides with when the playoffs would start. Regardless of whether or not Horseheads was home or away, I wouldn't be able to go. And now that they've lost the Vestal, there is now no chance for Horseheads to be home, even for a divisional round, for the Section 4 playoffs. So that is my low. And man, it's so easy to dish out one of these Blue Hammer awards when, it's when the team wins. But there were some good performances. I mean, because they put the highlights online earlier. And from what I've seen and read, the quarterback, number 26, he was pretty solid, so I guess I have to give it to him. I mean, let's be honest, when you don't score at all in a game, it's kind of hard to dish one of these out. Not to mention, it's hard for me to actually pay attention to, because I didn't go, because it was all the way in Vestal, and I had to be with my dad all day yesterday, so I couldn't really do that. So number 26, sure, you'll get this Blue Hammer award, I suppose. And now I'm actually really nervous for Horseheads, because the next 2 weeks are going to be a gauntlet for them. Because this Friday they play against Corning, and then a week later they play against Elmira, at Elmira. I'll be honest, it's not really looking that well for Horseheads winning sectionals this year, but I would definitely give them a fighting chance if they win both of the next 2 games against Corning and Elmira. It's not a great chance, but it's a chance. So needless to say, that's my low. But my high is, I got to spend the day with my folks, and we got to finish watching The Irishman, so I can talk about that now. And I got some football to talk about, as well as the fact that before I get into today's video, first of all, happy Sunday, everyone. But more importantly, I probably maybe have been a bit heavy-handed on how sad I've been since we closed up the cottage up at Cuca Lake, and therefore we can't go anymore. And we've all been in situations where there are just times that are coming up that we kind of dread. But more often than not, once you get into the swing of things, you tend to kind of forget how sad you are. And last night that happened to me. Because last night was the first time that we finally went back to church in Corning since, before the summer started. And we went to Sorge's for dinner, which is usually what we do on Saturday nights anyway. That's honestly why I'm not really, I might post some things from Sorge's. I don't know. I'll maybe think about it from there. But having been back to Sorge's, I'm like, okay, this is a familiar setting. I don't feel so bad anymore. If I can just hold out and have, let's be honest, a few dozen weekends where we go to Sorge's, I think I'll be okay. So, I'm going in with some positivity. So, there's that. So, with that being said, let's talk about The Irishman. Now, this movie's actually a few years old, and when it first came out, I obviously didn't have access to Netflix, so I really hadn't seen it. And I got Netflix just at the beginning of 2022, and it didn't occur to me until just a little after I could finally watch The Irishman. But here's the thing, this is a movie that I legit wanted to see with my folks because, for those of you who don't know, this movie was directed by Martin Scorsese. It's got actors like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, Harvey Keitel. The list will go on and on. My point is, actually, Anna Paquin's in it too. I thought that was really cool. My point is, these are Hollywood actors whose careers have spanned several decades and generations. So needless to say, my father grew up watching these people. And he really isn't much, I like to picture him as this one great sort of movie snob, and he is to some degree, but full disclosure, and I said this before when I did my 10 facts about him on his birthday back in February, his favorite movie of all time is The Quiet Man. John Wayne. For his time, John Wayne was essentially, John Wayne was the Robert De Niro of his day. He was the Al Pacino of his day. He was, every great actor from, the 60s and 70s. Again, De Niro, Pacino, Pesci, those guys. Before them, it was John Wayne. But that's not to say my father hasn't keeping an eye on, these actors over his lifetime. He'd seen, Goodfellas. Obviously, he's seen The Godfather. The old mobster movies. In fact, sorry, I'm busy with, I'm jarring something. Sorry. Anyway, so after we finished watching The Irishman, I asked my dad, let me talk about the movie first. So, the movie follows a character named Frank Sheeran, played by Robert De Niro, who gets himself caught up in the mafia, just because, they take a liking to him. It's really about it. He didn't really do anything wrong or anything to attain the ire of mobsters. No, Sheeran was just a decent guy who was making a living for his family of 4 daughters and a wife. So, he's doing all sorts of crazy things for the mob, and, it did involve him going out late and, doing some things that I shouldn't quite mention here, but they were pretty bad. Needless to say, by the end of the movie, his daughter, who's played by Anna Paquin, has a completely strained relationship to him with De Niro's character. So that should tell you right away how bad it was. But the main claim to fame of this movie is how Frank Sheeran had to essentially be sort of like a bodyguard and confidant to Jimmy Hoffa, who was a real person, who was also involved with the mob. And throughout the movie, it's pretty clear that, Jimmy Hoffa, he likes to run his mouth. And if there's one thing you really need to know about the mafia, if they tell you to do something, you do it. If they want you to shut up, you shut up. Not Jimmy Hoffa, though. So basically, he talked his way into getting himself killed. But here's the sad part. Robert De Niro's character, Frank Sheeran, had to be the one to do it. And the real sad part is, throughout the movie, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino have already known each other for decades. They've been in movies together. Many of which they've shared scenes. Godfather Part 2, the Godfather movies, obviously, stuff like that. So needless to say, the chemistry between Pacino and De Niro is very much undeniable. As well as the chemistry between Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro was also undeniable. But again, Pesci and De Niro have been in many movies together. One of which, definitely off the top of my head, Goodfellas or Casino, which this is what I was about to say before I started talking about The Irishman. As we finished watching this, I asked my dad, would you say this is your favorite Scorsese movie? Having seen it? Because, this movie is a juggernaut to get through. It's 3.5 hours. We had to watch it over 2 separate nights. Picking up where we left off. And thankfully Netflix is very accommodating with that. Thank you, the pause button. Anyway. So I asked my dad, what do you think? Would you say this is your favorite Scorsese movie? And he liked it a lot. And keep in mind, we'd only just finished watching it, so maybe he's got to ruminate on it a little in terms of, how he felt about it. Obviously he liked it. But for the moment, he told me that right now his favorite Scorsese movie is Casino, which is a very good movie. I should do a video on Casino. I didn't see it when I was little, but seriously, if you watch TV at all, specifically like AMC and I think like TNT and like all those other old channels, you're probably going to find Casino at some point. Which, Casino's a good movie. Maybe I'll talk about that someday. But regarding the movie The Irishman, what more can I say? In terms of sheer volume, if you were to ask me the greatest cast I've ever seen, I'd probably tell you pretty much the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe and Harry Potter. But for actors of their time, their generation, still doing their thing. Again, De Niro, Pacino, Pesci, Keitel, that generation of actors that gave us so many great movies, specifically mobster movies. Not to mention it was directed by Martin Scorsese. Which, before I continue, actually, no, I'll continue what I was going to say. I was going to say that, for that movie with that cast, it's up there for me. It's definitely in my top 3 Martin Scorsese films, for sure. I didn't grow up with Casino or Goodfellas, but, The Irishman notwithstanding, I've seen Wolf of Wall Street. I've seen Silence, which are 2 movies that I also highly recommend if you're a Martin Scorsese fan. In terms of which one I want, which of those 3 is the best, I guess it would depend on my mood. Because The Irishman really gave me vibes of the mobster movies of yore. Again, such as Goodfellas and those ones, and The Godfather and what have you. So that was great. Wolf of Wall Street was just fun, let's be honest, Wolf of Wall Street is definitely not a movie for everyone. If you're a fan of just sheer debauchery, yeah, Wolf of Wall Street's great. It's easily one of the best 3 hours I've spent in a theater. And then there's Silence, where maybe I'll talk about Silence, and I'll get into Silence if I ever do a MoReas on it in detail. But Silence is the kind of movie where if you need a reaffirmation of your faith, I would say Silence is the movie for you. So it's kind of hard to rank my top 3 Scorsese movies among those 3, but there you go. There they are. They're not in any order now. I don't really know if I could really put them in an order. It's hard for me to really do a top however many of this magnitude, just because, it's Martin Scorsese. He is one of the greatest directors of all time. It really is surprising that he only has 1 Oscar for The Departed, which is also a pretty decent movie, or a great movie. But still, you've got, really any Martin Scorsese movie is going to be, at best, highly above average. And that's At worst, it's highly above average. At best, it's going to be one of the greatest viewing experiences you've ever seen. I mean, my only regret is because Netflix was becoming so big and popular, like The Irishman was like the first great movie to come out on streaming services. And it's a real shame because I really do feel The Irishman would be great to see in the theater. Because I saw Silence in the theater. I saw Wolf of Wall Street in the theater. You know, The Irishman, they should really re-release that movie and put it on the big screen. I'd love to see that. But there you go. Obviously, if you have access to Netflix, of course I highly recommend you watch The Irishman. You know, it definitely has, you know what? One thing I definitely need to think over is The Irishman and Silence end in the same way where, like, it's just an image and the screen just goes black. And then, well, for Silence, it was just screen goes black and then credits. And then, man, okay. If you remember way back when I did my class and sessions video on choir, I talked about the solo I did, and which I did In the Still of the Night. And you hear that song a lot in this movie, and yeah. Remember the other day I did a video on if I was on The Voice, what song would I do? I'm not gonna lie, In the Still of the Night would probably be on the top, near the top of my list. Thank you, The Irishman. So before I stop here, I have some NFL picks to make. So let's begin with that. Okay, so for today, we have, see, the Ravens and the Giants. Ravens. Jaguars and Colts. I have no idea. Yeah, you know what? Technically, Jacksonville may have a better record. I'm probably wrong for picking the... Actually, you know what? Hold on. Right. You know what? Normally I really wouldn't pick the Colts, but honestly this game is kind of a lame pick, I guess. But the other day I saw a video on YouTube where Jonathan Taylor of the Colts is really into science, so he got to an interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson. So you know what, just because of that, I'll pick the Colts. Why not? Patriots and the Browns. Yeah, why not? I'll go with the Browns. Bengals and the Saints. I think I'll pick the Bengals. I trust Joe Burrow infinitely more than Jameis Winston. Buccaneers and Steelers. Oh, that's easy, the Buccaneers. Let's see, the 49ers and the Falcons. Another easy one, the 49ers. Jets and Packers. Wow, this is easy. The Packers. Vikings and Dolphins. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know who they got. I forget who they have a QB for the Dolphins. But I guarantee Kirk Cousins is better, so I'll pick the Vikings over the Dolphins. Panthers and the Rams. Rams. Aaron Donald's going to eat Baker Mayfield alive. Let's see. Cardinals and Seahawks. All right, Cardinals, I'm going to give you one last chance. Just because. So I'm picking the Cardinals. Oh, please. These next two picks couldn't be easier for me. Bills and Cowboys. Those are my picks. Not even really close. Bills and Chiefs. Yeah, I want the Bills to win. And my Dallas Cowboys against the Philadelphia Eagles, the team with which I hate the most. Yeah, I'm picking the Cowboys. That's easy. So let's see. So for my picks today, I'm picking the Ravens, the Colts, the Browns, the Bengals, the Bucks, the 49ers, the Packers, the Vikings, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Bills, and let's go Cowboys. So, yeah, kind of a lot to talk about today, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So that's my day today. Probably gonna visit my folks again later. Play with my nephews because I may get to play with my nephews again. Fun. Oh, before I go though, no kidding. You know, this literally should be my high. By the way, I cannot talk about this without, like, I gotta put this as also my high. So last night, because my dad and I sit in the front row in church, right? And you know, we pretty much get communion first. You know, we go out to our pew, and we usually sit like near the aisle. And sure enough, my brother, his wife, and my 3 nephews were in the way back. And what was funny is the youngest one, the one who happens to be my godson, says, "Grandpa," talking to my dad. You know, my dad's also grandpa now. I'm like, "Oh, they're here." Oh. That, seeing them yesterday really made my day. It really made my day. So, yeah. It was a pretty good day overall. So, I hope you liked this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Do my YouTube channel greatly. As always, follow me on social media. I am very humble in this video for all of you guys who watch and enjoy for today. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Go Bills and go Cowboys. And remember, because my talker channel is going to be here to let you know, always hear that. Take care and make good choices. 6-0-7 all day, baby.